This is your WGBW Daily News Roundup for the Talk of Green Bay, 97.9 FM and 1590 AM.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. Wisconsin's U.S. senators are splitting their votes on the foreign aid package to send $95 billion more aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Democrat Tammy Baldwin tells the Journal Sentinel that conditions and safeguards in the package allay her concerns about sending weapons to Israel. Ron Johnson says he voted against it for a lack of meaningful reforms on the U.S. southern border. Wisconsin schools are turning to restraints and seclusion less often. The Department of Public Instruction says cases were down about 8% last school year. Tim Pirenboom is a DPI psychologist.
It's only supposed to be used as a last resort when the student's behavior presents a clear, present, imminent risk to physical safety.
Pirenboom says it happens most with elementary schoolers with disabilities.
Frequent use of seclusion restraint is usually a symptom of larger, more systemic issues, whether that's staffing shortages or lack of proper training for staff members who work with our highest needs students.
Pirenboom says most schools report no cases of using seclusion or restraint. Officials from the village of Alloway are urging state officials to close the Green Bay State Prison. They came to Madison yesterday to make their case. State Representative David Steffen points out the Green Bay prison is 126 years old and overcrowded. Local officials say the prison is a danger to the safety of the surrounding community. The University of Wisconsin's flagship campus in Madison is slipping in the global and national rankings. The Wall Street Journal ranks it 79th. Internationally, UW-Madison has fallen to as low as 102nd in one ranking. Authors of the UW's internal studies say the UW-Madison gets fewer federal research grants. People who need a few $100 in a hurry can take out loans on smartphone apps, but consumer advocates warn of steep hidden costs. Lucia Constantine is with the Center for Responsible Lending.
They are trapping consumers in a cycle of borrowing that is similar to that of a payday loan.
A bipartisan bill to curb predatory lending in Wisconsin stalled in the last session of the state legislature. Saturday is Drug Take-Back Day in Wisconsin. Law enforcement leaders and health officials are trying to raise awareness about opioids. People can drop off their unused medications at 135 places around the state. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Now here's what you need to know closer to home.
For WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. Local officials, state lawmakers, and concerned citizens asked for the closure of Green Bay Correctional Institution at a roundtable discussion in Madison Tuesday. Alloway President Jim Rafter.
It is time for Green Bay Correctional Institution to close. The facility has exhausted its lifespan and cannot provide those inside with the tools necessary to navigate a return to society. It is unsafe for the guards, the individuals housed there, and the community where it resides.
The 126-year-old prison needs up to $275 million in repair, and Representative David Steffen says it's long overdue to close.
It is in a dire state, and it's waiting for a major issue to happen. Here's one of the challenges. Most of the solutions that are being discussed and will be discussed either today or in the future take years in the making. So we have to be proactive.
Inmates at GBCI have been on modified movement since June of 2023, meaning that they spend almost all of their time in their cells with no access to programs or services and no exercise. The body of a young woman pulled from the East River in Green Bay Saturday has been positively identified. Green Bay Police and the Brown County Sheriff's Office confirm it to be 22-year-old Yvonne Benitez of Bellevue. Benitez was reported missing to the Brown County Sheriff's Office on April 15th. Her body was found by a search party Saturday. An autopsy did not indicate foul play. Joey Presley will be officially sworn in as the alderman of Green Bay in May 7th. Presley defeated District 6 incumbent Steve Campbell by 16 votes. Campbell requested a recount and filed objections. However, the Board of Canvass found all documentation, including absentee ballots, were in order. Campbell will have to pay over $6,500 for the recount, which took 13 and a half hours. UW Green Bay has found its new women's basketball coach. Kayla Carius Techschlag played for the Phoenix from 2007 to 2011. She'll come to Green Bay from the University of South Dakota, where she had consecutive winning seasons as a coach. She succeeds Kevin Borseth, the winningest coach in the program's history, who announced his retirement earlier this month. The Mile of Music Festival takes to the streets of Appleton August 1st through the 4th. Organizers announced the first 50 artists scheduled to perform in a social media post. They're calling this year's festival Mile 11 for the 11th year of the event. The festival will feature up to 200 artists playing at 40 venues within a mile of each other in downtown Appleton. It's expected to draw in 100,000 fans and have an economic impact of over $6 million. Appleton Downtown wants to make the area more dog-friendly. They're asking dog owners to take a brief survey, which can be found on their Facebook page. Dog owners will be asked about events, public spaces, amenities, safety, and community engagement. The survey takes about 5 to 10 minutes. And that's what you need to know. I'm Lisa Hale, WGBW News.
The Brewers lose again to the Pirates. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Their crew could not get on base, losing 2-1 in Pittsburgh. Pat Murphy was pleased by the debut of right-hander Tobias Myers, even though the first batter he faced, Andrew McCutchen, hit a home run.
I think sometimes getting punched early is probably a good thing, to be quite honest with you. I think that said it all, what he did the next 15 outs.
NBA, the Bucks lost at home to the Pacers, 125-108. Milwaukee pulled to within 4 points, then fell behind by 20 in the final period. Chris Middleton.
Siakam made some tough plays. Turner hit some shots. But I think for the most part, their pace after I missed shots just, killed us tonight.
On Sunday, the Bucks dominated Indiana. What was the difference? Doc Rivers.
They said we couldn't play defense. We did that in the first game. They said they couldn't play defense. They did that in the second game. I thought it was more our offense versus their defense than the other way. And I thought that bled over to the defense event. So I thought it was more our offense tonight.
Pacers guard Tyrese Halliburton is a native of Oshkosh, but says his family was mistreated in Milwaukee.
This has been, my little brother in the stands the other day was, called the N-word. And so, it was important for us as a family, to just address that. And that was important for us to talk about, because that just didn't sit right with anybody in our, in our family.
That's the Pacers' Tyrese Halliburton. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. 26 years later, Jerry Seinfeld has mixed feelings about the way his sitcom ended. The 69-year-old comedian does not believe in regret, but told People.com that thinking about it still causes mixed emotions. The show ended with Jerry, Kramer, George, and Elaine all in jail for violating a Good Samaritan law in a small town. Seinfeld says the topic came up when he was talking with fellow Seinfeld creator Larry David about the fact that Seinfeld is never mentioned when people discuss great TV finales. Seinfeld lists Bob Newhart, Mary Tyler Moore, and Mad Men as great finales, adding that he feels Mad Men was the best ever. Co-creator David also says he has some issues with the way the show ended. Seinfeld admits to being influenced by network producers at the time who thought since the characters were selfish on the show that the ending should be consistent with that. The ending might not be perfect, but at least they never jumped a shark. Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction celebrated its 30th anniversary last weekend in Hollywood. Gathering for the celebration were cast members Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman, Harvey Keitel, and John Travolta. The event was held at Mann's Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard and was part of the TMC Classic Film Festival. The film was released in 1994 and was the follow-up to Tarantino's first film, Reservoir Dogs. Anne Hathaway recently talked about making out with several different actors in front of casting directors to see if there was chemistry. Hathaway said she went along with the antiquated practice in the early 2000s because she didn't want to be considered difficult. She said it was really awkward when the producers made it seem like she should be excited to make out with so many different guys in front of them. Hathaway produced and stars in the new film The Idea of You, which will be released May 2nd, and only makes out with people she wants to these days. Director Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Part 2 debuted in first place on the Netflix Top 10 Most Viewed list. The Green Bay native and Batman vs. Superman director's film scored 21.5 million views since its debut April 19th, but it was actually a weaker opening than his Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, which garnered 24 million views in its opening back in December. Woody Woodpecker and What Jennifer Did came in second and third place, respectively. Not only does Hollywood recycle old ideas in films they've already made, now they're remaking films based on board games. Deadline reports that Sony Pictures has purchased the rights from Hasbro to remake the film Clue, which was originally made in 1985. Hasbro recently made a deal with Margot Robbie's company Lucky Chap to make Monopoly into a movie. Personally, I can't wait to see Catchphrase made into a movie, which I'm guessing will just be family members shouting at each other about when the buzzer went off. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 7 to 9 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Mostly sunny today and not windy. Our high 47 this afternoon. The wind northeast at 5 to 15. Tonight down to 30, a little frost overnight, and then tomorrow sunshine 57 by Friday. Breezy with rain and a high of 61. Scattered showers and thunderstorms are likely through the upcoming weekend. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Outside now, it's 35.
That's your WGBW Daily News Roundup from Civic Media. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts. Find more news at WGBW.FM.